Hello and welcome. Now let's take the details. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is leading government team to negotiate for an economic program with the International Monetary Fund. But what are some of the issues that dominated today's discussions? My colleague George Wiafe gives a wrap of day one of the two-week official engagement in the following report.
Discussions are starting this morning after the team touched down over the weekend from Washington, D.C., USA. Joy Business is learning that issues about the country's rising debt stock and what measures should be instituted to bring it down to sustainable levels will dominate the meeting. The IMF team, which is led by its new mission chief, would also be making some proposals based on the economic data gathered during their previous visit on how to deal with the debt situation. The meeting would also afford the IMF team an opportunity to better understand government's enhanced domestic program and proposals that have been documented to help turn around the current challenges facing the economy. The team would also engage government on what else can be done to improve Ghana's revenue situation, especially when it comes to those structural issues. The IMF team would be in town for the next 2 weeks and they are expected to end the engagement on October 7. The team would engage Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, Governor of the Bank of Ghana Dr. Ernest Addison, who will lead the monetary team. Vice President Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia and some business associations as well as civil society groups and Parliament will also have audience with the team. According to the fund, Ghana's program backed by the IMF financing will focus on restoring macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability.
Well, we are joined via Zoom by economist today. Thanks for staying with us. We apologize for the loss of audio there, but we are joined via Zoom by economist Courage Mate with more on the negotiations between IMF and government. Thank you so much, Courage, for your time. Are you quite optimistic about this two-week meeting which commenced today?
Thanks for having me. Optimistic in the sense that, yes, this should ultimately translate into some anchor programs to help start the journey towards recovery in terms of macroeconomic stability and the entire economic recovery. However, I think we must also understand that these 2 weeks will not be enough to arrive at a deal. So the optimism is that at least something has started, something meaningful has started. And so we are optimistic that from this point, we should start to see what the fund has in mind, what the Ghanaian authorities also have in mind, and whether we can find a middle ground as quickly as possible so that the program can start in earnest.
Some have raised questions about transparency surrounding Ghana's enhanced domestic program. Are you worried as well?
Well, I have no reason to be worried, but I also would want to take a cue from what would have happened in the past, and especially with other countries where because they kept finding new data deep into the discussion, it delayed the process. And so for me, I wouldn't say I'm worried, but I would say that is a caution and we need to be mindful of this, that transparency from the get-go is important and they need to be forthright. And what we want to achieve is what we need to put forward as quickly as possible. And talking about transparency, you see, the more information you make available to the IMF or the fund, the right and quickly we can reach an agreement, and then we will be able to arrive at a fair, quote and unquote, deal for Ghanaians. And so really, I don't think I'm concerned about transparency, but I would say that I support the call for us to see the true state of the economy. I don't have any basis to doubt the authorities that will provide the true state of the economy.
So what do you say about rumors that the debt will be the focus of these negotiations?
Well, it has to be. At the heart of our problem is fiscal issues. And the consequence of our fiscal issues is the rising debt levels we have and the rising debt burdens we have to carry. And so if you look at the current situation we are faced with, where our total debt stock is way above the 70%. Debt to GDP actually is way above the 70% levels for market access countries. And the debt sustainability analysis as of last year actually showed that at the baseline, we're already breaching all the key debt sustainability indicators, but we were able to keep servicing our debt because we had access to the market. And currently, we do not have access to the market. And so how are we going to service our debt without access to the market? So you shouldn't be surprised if you find that the debt and the discussions around it becomes the topical issue, because it has to be.
But what are your thoughts on the proposed debt restructuring that Ghana is considering?
Well, straightforward, I would say it has to be industry-led. Okay. And I don't have any reason to think that it will be a one-sided imposition of what has to be done from the Treasury. What we would expect is that it has to involve and include stakeholders. And here we are talking about the banks, the pension funds, the asset managers, and indeed the regulators, the Bank of Ghana, the SEC, and so on, then the NPRA, and all the necessary stakeholders to come to the table, and let's find a workable solution with the ultimate goal of preserving confidence in the financial system, also ensuring that investors and depositors do not unduly suffer losses. And so for me, my take would be, or expectation would be, that it would be stakeholder-led and not a one-sided discussion or imposition of ideas.
Finally, before I let you go, can Ghana get a good deal?
It depends on what we describe as a good deal. Good is relative. I mean, ultimately, what you want to see is a type of program that restores investor confidence, a type of program that restores macroeconomic stability, a type of program that restores fiscal and debt sustainability, a type of program that ensures that economic growth bounces back as quickly as possible, and it is a growth that is inclusive. And if we see all of these, you would say that this would be a good enough program. However, we must also not ignore the fact that adjustment would involve some pains, especially in the first year or two of the adjustment process. That does not undermine the fact that ultimately it could still turn out to yield the desired outcomes. So being good does not preclude it from being painful. We could experience some pains in terms of the economic measures that might be taken.
We'll leave it here, Courage. Thank you so much. Courage Mate is an economist with IC Securities. Now, away from that, managers of banks have indicated their readiness to cooperate with the Bank of Ghana to implement new measures expected to be announced by the Monetary Policy Committee. There's an assurance from the Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, John Ewa. According to him, the financial institutions are monitoring happenings in the economy and are ready to collaborate with the Bank of Ghana to avert any shocks. Mr. Ewa was speaking to Joy Business at the annual general meeting of the Ghana Association of Banks.
For the banks that we have in the country at the moment, they are resilient, liquid, they have the right capital levels, and they are financially sound. So we have every cause to believe that, yes, even in periods of crisis, that is when you need stronger banks. So people should even be happy that as we go through economic challenges as a country, we have banks that have the right capital levels to potentially absorb some shocks in the environment. We all know that businesses are not flourishing the way we anticipated. When you talk about the businesses, you need to remember that these businesses are being funded by banks. And if a business is struggling to make their loan repayment, who bears the brunt of it is the banks. So we need banks that have sufficient capital levels to be able to absorb this potential distress that is staring us in the face. And that is why I am particularly excited about what the banks are doing. And what we are doing now is working a lot more together. They said, as was said at the forum, the best form of competition now is to collaborate. And that is exactly what, as community of banks, we are doing at the moment. We are just like you, we are also watching. We've done our own calibration of where we think the market fundamentals are, and we are on standby. We work very closely with the central bank. If there are anything that will come that will be a shock to the system, the governor has a way of communicating that to us even ahead of time.
And then the increase in the reserve ratio from 12 to 16, has it had any impact?
It's early days yet, but of course, if your ability to mobilize and deploy is restricted because a lot more of the cash that you mobilize will have to be sitting at central bank earning zero interest, then of course to have some form of stress on your liquidity requirements. As we said, it is a progressive implementation. I'm sure we'll have the full impact of it when we go live on the 15%, which is in November.
Now let's turn our attention to the insurance sector, where players within the sector in the country as well as other developing countries are being urged to adopt cutting-edge technologies to tackle risk associated with natural disasters. Following the 2015 twin fire and flood disasters, insurers in Ghana had to pay the cedi equivalent of more than $90 million. But according to chairman of the task force, the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers, insurance sector regulators ought to develop adaptable digital infrastructure to manage insurance losses. He spoke at the 22nd Educational Conference of the Association of Insurers and Reinsurers of Developing Countries, organized here in Accra.
It is disheartening to learn that some insurance policies still don't cover disasters of this kind. It is true that the earth has been subjected to natural disasters since its formation, and that these disasters are caused by a variety of natural processes. However, I'm convinced that insurers, led by supervisory authorities with great benefits from a more adaptable digital infrastructure and the use of cutting-edge technologies in order to better manage emerging risks that are constantly shifting in nature, can begin to look at these areas. Clearly, the foundational principles of insurance, as espoused in the marine insurance arrangements of the 15th century or even earlier, and the protection mechanisms afforded by this important intervention called insurance have not changed much. However, the risks that need to be managed by this intervention keeps changing over time. All of this emphasizes the importance of the insurer, reinsurer, and insurance regulator, not only in promoting global socio-economic growth and improved financial securities, but also in safeguarding the things that are most dear to people.
Now, the 22nd Educational Conference of the Association of Insurers and Reinsurers of Developing Countries was on the theme Building Resilience in the Heat of a Global Economic Tussle. Meanwhile, Commissioner of Insurance at the National Insurance Commission, Dr. Justice Yao Fori, urged insurers to transform their businesses to meet rising policyholder expectations.
The landscape of insurance, especially in developing countries, keeps changing due to rising policyholder expectations and technological development. As such, insurers and reinsurers have no choice but to transform their business and operating models to re-emerge stronger than before. Key players from the global market seek to exploit these untapped opportunities. It is therefore important for regulators and practitioners alike to set requirements for guidance in this regard. Insurance business is built on trust and commitment to fulfill promises, so a suitable dose of prudential supervision is necessary for it to grow and flourish. Despite these opportunities, the insurance market in developing countries still face some notable challenges, key among which are lack of trust in insurance, unhealthy competition, bad corporate governance practices, and fluctuating boardroom ethics. Our gathering here reflects our dedication to duty and the desire to see insurance grow in developing countries for our mutual benefit.
You're still watching Business Live here on the Joy News channel with me, Beverly Broohm. Still to come, patrons to be taking through a variety of housing products in this year's Kumasi Habitat Fair. We'll hear from the General Manager of Sales and Marketing at the Multimedia Group.
If you are a patron or you intend visiting the place from Friday to Sunday, we want to assure you that you are coming into a one-stop shop where everything housing is available.
Welcome again. Thanks for staying with us. Now to some other stories. General Manager, Sales and Marketing at the Multimedia Group Limited, Max Fuga, has encouraged prospective homeowners in Kumasi and its environs to take advantage of this year's Kumasi Habitat Fair. The fair is set to take place at the Kumasi Mall from September 30th to October 2nd. According to him, over 40 exhibitors will be present to take patrons through a variety of housing products. He spoke to Joy Business.
This year's Habitat Fair in Kumasi will take place from the 30th of September, that is this coming Friday, and it will end on Sunday, the 2nd of October. The unique thing about this year's fair is that we are going to Kumasi with a solution. Over 20 exhibitors from the Accra edition are participating in the Kumasi edition with variety of goods and services that will resolve of people's housing needs. We are expecting over 40 exhibitors this year. And if you are an exhibitor, this platform provides you countless marketing opportunities, countless platforms for you to market your products or your goods and services to direct consumers. If you are a patron or you intend visiting the place from Friday to Sunday, we want to assure you that you are coming into a one-stop shop where everything housing is available. All that you need is to carry your money, carry your check, carry your card, and you can be sure that everything you need about housing, from land acquisition to planning to draftsmanship to architectural drawings to the building itself, to home appliances. Every single thing that makes a house a complete house will be available at the Kumasi Shopping Mall from 30th to 2nd October this year. For our partners, we say a very big thank you to you. DBS, Republic Banks, DBS and the Republic Bank. We say a very big thank you to you for taking advantage of our early bird package to be partners of Kumasi Habitat Fair 2022.
Max Fuga is the General Manager, Sales and Marketing here at the Multimedia Group Limited. Now, as part of bridging the financial literacy gap among women, the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development has rolled out an online program to train women in remittances, according to Senior National Coordinator, Migration and Diaspora Program at GIC, Abuna Owusua Amponsa Bill. The online training will aid in human development and productive investment among young women across the country. She spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the free online financial training program.
The online financial literacy platform program will provide an engaging and robust online training product for women in remittance receiving households and to deliver very successfully to a pilot cohort of women. According to Abena Owusua, this will improve the skills and confidence of women using digital financial services.
Realized even in the times of the pandemic, where it was projected that remittances was going to reduce worldwide, we realized it didn't really work, so it did better compared to the situation that we found ourselves in. So in as much as we realize that remittances contribute a lot to our gross domestic product and the country's development, we thought that we could channel that again to letting the populace get to understand what remittances could be used for aside the regular usage for it. That is the exact purpose for which it was brought. Yes, we are targeting every Ghanaian, especially one who receives remittances from abroad, and the focus is on women because we understand our socioeconomic settings where women are playing key role in households in terms of care and provision.
Managing consultant at Pepper Almond Consulting Services, Florence Hopudu, said this will help women in small businesses and expand their operations.
This product has come in handy to be able to educate them that whatever money they received, it's important that they can allocate a portion for savings, and that can help them for future as future income, and also to enable them to become financially independent. That's the whole idea about the project, to make women better empowered. Well, the term is remittances, but it's cross-cutting. If you look at the various modules as proposed in the course, you find that it cuts across savings for entrepreneurship, it cuts across you becoming financially independent, it cuts across just even the mindset about what the purpose of the remittance is supposed to be for. So it cuts across. The broader theme for making remittance work is just to make the product sell.
And that's how we end Business Live tonight. But for more business news, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Beverly Broohm, and I leave you with news making headlines on the international front.